Why is Germany completely screwed? Over the last decade, Germany has managed to hold on to one of the world's strongest economies. This has resulted in incredible economic power and influence in Europe and also abroad. However, in the past several years, the German economy has been on shaky ground, leading many economists to believe that Germany's time at the top could end. So while it isn't as bad as many European countries, there are clear signs that Germany's leadership has been making some poor decisions over the last decade or so, with some very bad economic consequences following. Hello guys, and welcome to Econify. If you're new to this channel, just like our videos and subscribe as soon as possible to get more amazing content. Here, we'll examine the plight of the Germans and see how bad their situation really is. Send in your thoughts and comments and keep watching till the end of the video. Alright guys, let's see what we've got. Now folks, did you know that Germany has the highest youth unemployment rate in Europe? The United Kingdom's youth unemployment rate, at 22.5%, isn't as high as Germany's. However, it is still high enough to raise alarms that the lot entering the workforce after graduation isn't quite ready to compete in this increasingly globalized job market. Also, Germany's economic model relies heavily on export and manufacturing. Well, this works great when you've got other countries to import your goods and services from. But what happens if everyone else decides to go with their economies? What happens if they decide that Germany has become too dependent on exporting goods and commodities and decide to implement protectionist policies? What happens if the global economy collapses entirely? Germany doesn't have enough self-sustaining industries, like tourism or agriculture, that could act as a fallback plan. The loss of global influence in Germany. Germany has been the leading economy in Europe for decades, but now it is about to relinquish that position. The country's economy is doing worse than its neighbors and much of the rest of Europe. However you want to look at it, the Eurozone crisis has affected many countries negatively. Still, not all have seen such drastic drop in their current account surpluses as Germany did over the last few years. A recent example of Germany's problems. Another complication for Germans, which has really taken a toll on their economy, is the overall dependency on export. If other European countries cannot buy goods and services from them, then Germany cannot sustain itself economically. Exports account for 50% of the GDP. Given how reliant they've become on other nations, a global slowdown would severely harm them too. Germany's heavy dependency on Russian oil could devastate their economy. The country relies on Russia for about 40% of its oil and gas imports, which means that if Russia were to cut off supply or demand a steep price increase, it would have a huge economic impact on Germany. It will be difficult for Germany to move away from the Russian oil because there are few other places where they can find cheaper supplies. Furthermore, if Russia were to impose either trade sanctions on Germany or stop exporting petroleum products altogether, it would severely damage the German economy. Countries like Lithuania and Poland are concerned about how the recent events will affect them because they rely heavily on Russian exports for their energy needs. How debt accumulation destroys Germany's prosperity. The German banking system is largely built on loans to southern European countries and has accumulated too much debt. This means that when these countries' economies turn for the worse, which will likely happen soon, it will have an impact on German banks and their ability to make new loans. The result is that Germany will probably enter a recession of its own as companies start having difficulty getting financing for new projects, and investors become more reluctant to put money into risky investments. The fact that Germany is closely tied to Southern Europe economies should be alarming enough. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the banking system is already over-leveraged due to its exposure to Southern Europe. For German banks to survive this economic crisis, they need more capital from investors. Now, the problem is that many Germans are hesitant because the financial sector had trouble returning profits during good times, and they don't want a repeat of 2008 to 2009 where people lost their life savings. Even if Germans did invest in the banks, they would most likely only do so at low interest rates, since there are no guarantees that they won't lose their money again if another crash happens. In any case, it is not the problem of German investors that is hurting. Everyone else in Germany suffers as well. A serious issue with investments leads to less business expansion and job creation, meaning people could go hungry or even be homeless without work or income. Could the euro be saved? Germany's economic situation is so dire that even the head of the IMF think it can be saved. There is a few reasons for this. but one main reason has to do with the fact that their exports are in general more expensive than imports. Now, what this means is that their currency, the euro, will continue to be weak, which is going to make the German goods prohibitively expensive for other European countries who want to buy them. That's not typically a win situation for these guys. They have got a large trade deficit because they import much more than they export due to high consumption rates. All these factors make it seem like Germany would be better off leaving the eurozone and returning to its currency. It is called the Deutschmark, in case you've got no idea what it is. That way, they could devalue their currency to stay competitive on the global market and use monetary policy as an economic tool to get out of debt or put people back to work. The only problem with that plan, that if Germany leaves the eurozone, there is no guarantee that all the members will go to. So then, what happens? Theoretically, it should still benefit Germany by allowing them control over their monetary policy again. However, theoretically doesn't mean anything when you're talking about an entire economy. If Germany leaves the eurozone without any guarantees that other members will follow, it will cause problems in the international markets, since loans need to be repaired and banks need deposits from Germans. If everyone tries to convert euros into Deutschmarks at once, because Germans wouldn't want euros anymore, there could be a massive inflation in Germany. And inflation is never good for anyone, especially not for those trying to pay off debts or save money in these times where talks of a recession and energy crisis are everywhere. Bottom line is, if Germany were allowed control over its monetary policy again by getting rid of the euro, it might very well become completely screwed economically. Who will bail out Germany? Germany's economy is in trouble and it needs a bailout. Only 3 countries can bail out the country, but all 3 have reasons they can't. First, China has been taking advantage of the euro for years now and doesn't want to risk letting up its competition with other countries by bailing out Europe. Funny country. Second, Russia has also taken advantage of the euro. While oil prices have been low, they don't want to give up their gains by bailing out Europe. Third and finally, there's no way that the US would be able to bail out Germany. Now that's a shocker. As long as Americans are still trying to recover from crisis, they won't be able to spend money like they used to before when things got bad. And even if they did get some money together, European leaders would never allow them to bail them out. So who will bail out Germany? Nobody seems to be willing or capable of doing so at this time. Germany's economy has been in a bad shape for years, but the situation had worsened in recent months. The country is now facing a recession, with growth coming to a screeching halt and unemployment rising to an all-time high. They hope these measures will make up for weaknesses in export, caused by slow global economic growth as well as low oil prices. However, it is unlikely that these policies can offset some fundamental problems with the German economy. Lack of innovation and inability to export more goods overseas. It really seems inevitable that more cuts will be made to try and save what may be left of the struggling German economy. If not, it could have some serious consequences, not only for Germany itself, but for Europe as a whole. And as investors lose faith in the eurozone, they could move their money out of European markets, which would increase rates on sovereign debt and trigger another financial crisis. The last thing any European country needs right now is another market panic like the one we just saw a few years ago. Alright guys, we've come to the end of this amazing video. If you loved it, you could get more fantastic videos like this one if you like and subscribe to our channel. Waiting for your comments, yeah, and turn on that notification bell too.